All right, so you're getting ready for this pile driving hammer operator interview. Pretty exciting,
Yeah,
huh?
definitely a big step.
So in this deep dive, we're going to really try to give you an edge using these awesome resources from RoleCatcher.
Okay, seems good.
They're career and interview guides. We're going to look at those specifically for this role
Cool.
and hopefully help you come up with some answers that are really going to wow those interviewers.
That's the goal, right?
So first things first, let's just set the stage a little bit.
Okay,
The career guide kind of paints this picture of a pile-driving hammer operator
right.
as someone who's not afraid of hard work,
All
right?
right, yeah, for sure.
Working outdoors on construction sites using these huge machines, installing the foundations for bridges, buildings.
And it's the important stuff.
That's got to take some serious skill.
Definitely not a job for everyone.
And that's where these AI tools that RoleCatcher has are so interesting.
Yeah, they can be really helpful.
So it can actually look at a job description and figure out exactly what they want.
It's like magic, but it's AI.
Seriously.
Yeah, so it goes through all the wording, picks out those keywords that basically mean essential skills,
Okay.
and then it helps you tailor your resume and even your interview answers to hit those points.
So it's going beyond just the generic answers.
Right.
And really zeroing in on what that specific employer wants.
Exactly. It's all about being specific.
I bet that's a game changer when you're competing against a bunch of other people.
Well, for sure. It helps you stand out.
Okay, so that's super helpful.
Yeah.
But let's get into the heart of it, the actual questions.
Okay, let's do it.
This interview guide's packed with real examples. Let's start with a classic. Tell us about your experience operating pile-driving hammers.
Yeah, you're going to get that one for sure.
Seems pretty straightforward, but what are they actually wanting to know there?
Well, it's your chance to showcase your experience, but don't just list off the machines you've used.
Right?
Really paint a picture. What kinds of projects have you worked on? Have you handled unique challenges, maybe tricky soil or working in tight spaces?
So really showing them you can handle the real-world stuff.
Yeah.
What if you haven't operated every type of hammer out there?
That's okay. Just be honest. If your experience is limited,
Okay.
focus on transferable skills. Maybe you've operated other heavy machinery, or you have a good understanding of rigging.
Okay, wait, can you quickly break down what rigging actually means?
Oh, yeah, good point.
Because I feel like people might not know.
So rigging is basically using ropes, cables, and pulleys to safely lift and move heavy objects.
Okay.
The pile and the hammer itself, it's a big part of the job.
Got it.
So any experience with rigging shows them you get the basics of safe load handling.
So even if you haven't used that exact hammer,
Right.
show them you have those related skills.
Exactly.
Okay, back to that experience question. What kind of follow-up questions might they ask?
They might ask something like, what type of pile driving hammers are you most familiar with? Or maybe, tell me about a time you had to troubleshoot a problem with a hammer.
Okay, so be ready to go a little deeper.
Yeah, show them, your stuff.
All right, let's move on to another one that's guaranteed to come up. What steps do you take to ensure the safety of yourself and others while operating a pile-driving hammer? I mean, this one feels kind of obvious.
Yeah, but it's super important to them.
Okay. But what are they really listening for?
Well, safety is a huge deal in this job, and they want to see that you take it seriously.
Okay.
So don't just say, I follow all the protocols.
Right.
Be specific.
Okay.
What are your pre-operation checks? How do you communicate with your team?
Mm-hmm.
What about potential hazards like falling objects or trench collapses?
So show them you're thinking ahead, not just following a list.
Exactly. Be proactive.
And this ties back to something that was in the career guide about certifications.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Can you talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit?
so having certifications like OSHA 30 or specific pile driving safety training shows them you're serious about safety and have really invested in learning about it.
It's like proof that you know your stuff.
Exactly. And that can give you a real edge.
Makes total sense.
Right.
Now imagine they follow up with, have you ever had to stop work because of a safety concern? What did you do?
Oh, that's a good one.
That feels kind of tricky.
It's not a trick question, but it does make you think.
Right.
They want someone who will prioritize safety even if it means delaying things.
Makes sense.
So just describe the situation clearly, explain the concern, the steps you took, and the outcome.
Okay.
Show them you're a leader who puts safety first.
All right. So even something that seems like a negative
Right.
can actually be positive
Exactly.
by showing them you're committed to safety.
Yeah, and that you can make tough decisions.
Okay. Let's tackle another one. Have you ever encountered any challenges while operating a pile-driving hammer? How did you handle them?
Another classic.
Feels kind of broad. What are they hoping to uncover with that?
This is a behavioral interview question. They're trying to gauge your problem-solving skills, how you stay calm under pressure. So think of a specific challenge, maybe a mechanical issue,
Yeah.
or unexpected soil conditions, or even a sudden change in the project plan.
Right. Anything could happen on a construction site.
Exactly.
So how do you structure your answer to really make it hit home?
The STAR method is your best friend here.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Situation, task, action, result.
Right.
Describe the situation, what you had to do, the actions you took, and the positive result.
Okay, STAR method it is.
It keeps you on track.
But how do you make it sound natural?
Good point. You don't want to sound like a robot.
Exactly.
Just tell a story, engage the interviewer, let your passion for the work come through.
Got it. Storytelling is key.
It makes it memorable.
Now, what about follow-up questions about those challenges?
They might ask something like, what did you learn from that experience?
Okay.
Or how would you handle a similar situation differently in the future? They're looking for continuous learning, how you reflect and improve.
And the career guide mentioned joining professional organizations.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
What's the benefit of that in this kind of field?
Well, joining groups like the Pile Driving Contractors Association keeps you up to date on
Okay.
all the latest advancements, safety practices, and you get to network with other people.
So it's good for your career in the long run.
Exactly. Shows employers you're serious about your work.
So it's not just about what you know now, but that you're constantly learning.
That's what they want to see.
Okay. All right. Let's tackle another one that's a little more technical. How do you ensure that the pile driving hammer is properly calibrated for each job?
Ooh, yeah, that's getting into the details.
It feels like they're really digging into your technical knowledge with that one.
Definitely calibration is crucial for accuracy and efficiency.
Okay.
So explain how you check the hammer's weight and drop height,
Mm.
how you make adjustments based on the soil and the type of pile you're driving.
So it's not just about hitting things hard.
Yes.
It's about hitting them with the right amount of force at the right height.
Exactly, it's a science.
I never realized how much goes into it.
There's a lot more to it than people think.
Okay, so be ready to show them you understand how it all works.
Yeah, and they might also ask about troubleshooting calibration issues, so be prepared for that too.
Got it. All right, let's change gears a bit and talk about one that focuses on your ability to adapt. Can you tell us about a time when you had to work in inclement weather conditions?
Ah, yes, the joys of outdoor work.
I mean, construction happens, rain or shine, right?
Pretty much.
But safety's got to come first.
Absolutely.
So they want to hear how you handle tough weather without compromising safety?
They want to know you can adapt.
I bet everyone in construction's got a story about battling the elements.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
So what kind of details should you highlight?
Focus on a specific time where you had to change how you worked because of the weather.
Okay.
Maybe you had to delay something because of rain or adjust your equipment because of high winds. Explain the precautions you took, how you communicated with your team,
Right.
and how you kept everyone safe.
So it's not about being tough, it's about being smart and safe.
That's the key.
And this goes back to that continuous learning thing again.
Yeah, it all connects.
Knowing the latest weather safety stuff can really give you an
It
advantage.
could even save lives.
Okay, let's get into another one that really tests your attention to detail. How do you ensure the accuracy of pile placement while operating a pile driving hammer?
Precision is key.
Yeah, it feels like they're looking for someone who's really meticulous.
They want someone who's careful and knows what they're doing.
Because if those piles aren't placed right, the whole thing could be messed up.
Yeah, it's like a giant Jenga game.
Seriously.
You're building the foundation, so any mistake could have big consequences.
Okay, so how do you make sure everything's lined up perfectly?
You want to talk about using laser levels, measuring tapes, guide frames,
Okay.
all those tools that help you ensure each pile is driven at the right angle and depth.
Precision is everything.
It is, and they want to see that you understand that.
And the career guide talks about getting hands-on experience, even through entry-level jobs or apprenticeships.
Right.
Why is that so important in this field?
Pile driving is all about doing it.
Okay.
There's no substitute for actually operating the equipment, working with different piles, and understanding how soil works.
Right? You can't learn that from book.
Exactly. And entry-level roles or apprenticeships let you build that knowledge from the ground up.
So get out there, get your hands dirty, learn from the pros.
That's the best way to learn.
Okay, let's talk about the different types of piles with this question. Can you describe your experience working with different types of piles, such as steel or concrete?
Another one about showing them you're versatile.
They want to know you can handle more than just one type, right?
Exactly. So talk about the types you've worked with.
Okay.
Highlight any differences in how you handle them, driving techniques, safety considerations.
Got it.
And if you haven't worked with a certain type, be honest, but show them you're eager to learn.
Honesty is always the best policy.
It is.
What kind of follow-up questions might they ask about those different pile types?
They might ask about the pros and cons of each material,
Okay.
or maybe challenges you faced with certain types.
Mhm.
For example, driving steel piles through hard rock is way different than installing concrete piles in soft soil.
So they want to see you understand how those materials affect the whole process.
Exactly. It's all connected.
This is way more complex than I thought.
It's a fascinating field.
All right, let's talk about keeping those hammers in top shape. How do you handle equipment maintenance and repair for the pile driving hammer?
Got to keep those machines running smoothly.
It seems like they want someone who's proactive and good with their hands.
Definitely, they want someone who cares about the equipment.
Okay.
So talk about the regular maintenance. You do things like lubrication, inspection, cleaning,
Okay.
and highlight any experience you have with fixing minor problems.
So show them you're not afraid to get a little greasy.
Yeah, and that you understand the importance of keeping things in good condition.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask about that?
They might get specific about types of maintenance or repairs,
Okay.
like replacing hydraulic seals or troubleshooting electrical issues,
Mhm.
or they might ask about a time you fixed something out in the field.
So be ready to show off your inner mechanic.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift to teamwork now. Can you describe your experience working with a team on a pile driving project?
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yeah, it seems like you're looking for someone who's a team player.
For sure, pile driving's a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
They want to see that you can communicate coordinate tasks and contribute to a safe and positive environment.
And the career guide mentioned networking opportunities.
Yeah, those are valuable.
How can those help someone in this field?
Going to industry events and connecting with other people can open doors.
Okay.
You might find a mentor, learn about new tech, even land your next job.
It's all about who you know.
Networking is important in any field, but especially in construction.
Okay, back to that teamwork question. What details should you focus on?
Pick a specific example that shows your teamwork skills.
Okay.
Describe your role, the challenges you faced as a team, and how you contributed to the success of the project.
Got it.
Highlight your communication skills, your ability to listen, collaborate, and your commitment to safety as a team.
So show them you're not just focused on your own little part.
All right, you're part of something bigger.
What kind of follow-up questions might they ask about that teamwork aspect?
They might ask about your communication style,
Okay.
how you handle disagreements within a team,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a time when you had to step up as a leader, even if you weren't officially in charge.
Got it. So be ready to talk about those team player skills.
It's all about working together.
This has been super helpful. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have.
I feel way more prepared for that interview already.
That's great to hear.
But before we get into more questions,
Right.
let's take a quick break.
That's good.
We'll be back with more tips and tricks, so stay tuned.
See you soon. All right, let's jump back into it.
I'm ready.
Okay, so let's tackle some more of those interview questions
Sounds good.
that might come up for this pile driving hammer operator role.
Okay. I'm curious about something the interview guide mentioned about making sure those piles are driven straight.
Oh yeah, that's important.
It sounds simple, but I bet there's more to it.
Definitely more than meets the eye.
So how do you actually ensure that?
Well, the question might be something like, how do you ensure the pile is driven straight and plumb?
Okay, plumb. I've heard that word, but I can't quite picture it.
Yeah, good point. So plumb just means perfectly vertical.
Okay.
Think of like a string with a weight on it that's plumb.
Okay, makes sense.
So in pile driving, it's super important to make sure that pile goes straight down,
Right.
not at an angle,
Okay.
because any deviation from plumb can mess up the whole foundation.
Gotcha. So how do you make sure that happens?
You can't just eyeball it.
Right.
You'll want to talk about using guide frames, lasers, all those tools that help you maintain alignment.
Okay.
And mention regularly checking the pile's position as you're driving it, making adjustments if you need to.
So it's like this balance of precision and power.
Exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions might they ask about that?
They might ask about challenges you've faced with pile alignment,
Okay.
like working in tight spaces or dealing with soil that shifts.
Hmm.
They could also ask about what happens if a pile is misaligned.
Oh, right.
Be ready to talk about the potential problems that could cause.
Okay, so straight piles are happy piles.
That's a good way to put it.
It's all about that precision.
All right, let's shift back to teamwork for a sec.
Okay.
Another question that often pops up is, describe a situation where you had to work as part of a team to solve a problem on a pile driving project.
Okay, so they want to hear about real problem solving.
Exactly. Give them a specific example
Okay.
where you and your team had to overcome an obstacle. Maybe it was equipment that broke down or unexpected soil conditions,
Okay.
or even a change in the project plans.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen on a construction site.
That's the truth.
And that reminds me of something the career guide talked about, the importance of always learning new things in this field.
Oh yeah, continuous learning is huge.
Why is that so important for pile driving hammer operators?
Well, this industry is always changing.
Yeah.
New technology, safety rules, best practices are always coming out.
Right.
Employers want to see that you're staying ahead of the game.
Got it.
So going to conferences, taking training courses, even connecting with other professionals through groups like the Pile Driving Contractors Association
Okay.
shows them you're invested in your career.
So it's about being a lifelong learner.
Exactly. Always looking for ways to improve.
All right, back to that teamwork and problem-solving question.
Okay.
How do you make sure a team works well together, especially under pressure?
It's all about communication, respecting different viewpoints and working towards that same goal.
Okay.
So in your answer, emphasize that you're a good listener. You can communicate your ideas clearly.
Right.
And that you're willing to work together to find solutions.
Okay.
And don't forget safety. Always highlight how teamwork helps create a safe work environment.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly.
What about follow-up questions on that?
They might ask about your role within the team,
Okay.
how you handle conflicts, or what you learned from that experience.
Got it. So be ready to talk about those team dynamics.
Yeah, it's an important part of the job.
Okay, let's dive into a more technical question. How do different soil types affect pile driving operations? This one seems like it needs some serious soil knowledge.
Yeah, you gotta know your soil.
So different soil types can really impact how you drive those piles.
Oh, absolutely.
What are some examples of how that plays out?
Well, they might throw out terms like clay, sand, gravel, rock.
Okay.
All those have different densities, compositions, and how much weight they can hold.
Right. Which affects the techniques and equipment you use.
So it's like a strategy game where you have to adapt based on the soil.
Exactly. For example, driving piles through clay
Okay.
can be like pushing a stick through mud. It takes a ton of force.
Wow.
And you might even need to pre-drill,
Okay.
but sandy soil can be loose and unstable.
Right.
So you need a different approach to make sure the pile stays straight and secure.
So you got to be part engineer, part geologist.
It's a multifaceted job.
What about follow-up questions on that?
They might ask about specific soil-related challenges, like
Okay.
hitting unexpected layers or dealing with unstable ground. They could also ask about your knowledge of soil testing
Okay.
or your experience using specialized equipment for tricky soil conditions.
Like what kind of specialized equipment?
Well, have you ever worked with a vibratory hammer?
A vibratory hammer.
Yeah.
I'm picturing like a giant shaking machine.
That's pretty much it. It uses vibrations to help drive the pile,
Okay.
which can be more effective than impact driving in certain soils. Wow. I had no idea there was so much to know about soil.
That whole science.
It's fascinating how everything's connected in this job.
It really is.
I'm noticing they're looking for someone who's not just good at operating the machine,
Right.
but also understands like the bigger picture of construction and engineering.
That's a great observation.
The more you understand how it all fits together, the better prepared you'll be.
Exactly. It's all connected.
All right, let's move on to another question that tests your knowledge of the whole process. How do you ensure the quality of your work and the proper installation of piles?
Quality control is crucial.
It's not just about getting it done.
Right.
It's about getting it done right.
They want to see that you care about the details.
What are some things you would do to make sure everything's up to par?
Use measuring tools to check the depth.
Okay.
Do visual inspections for any damage or defects.
Mm-hmm.
And always refer back to those project specifications to make sure you're following the rules.
So be meticulous.
Mhm.
Document your work and stick to those standards.
Exactly. Those are the keys.
What about follow-up questions on that?
They might ask about specific quality control procedures,
Okay.
your experience using testing equipment,
Hmm.
or how you go about identifying and fixing quality issues.
Okay.
They could also ask about a time you went above and beyond to ensure quality, even if it meant delaying things or redoing a task.
So be ready to talk about those quality control measures in detail.
It shows them you're committed to doing things right.
Okay, let's talk about adaptability. Can you describe a time when you had to adapt to a sudden change on a construction site? Construction seems like a world where things are always changing, so that's got to be a key skill.
Oh, for sure. Construction projects are dynamic,
Okay.
and unexpected challenges pop up all the time.
Right.
This question is all about showing them you can think on your feet
Mm.
Adjust to new information and find solutions without compromising safety or quality.
You got to be quick on your feet in this line of work.
Definitely.
So what kind of stories should you tell to show them you can handle that?
Pick a time when you had to deal with a sudden change,
Okay.
like a design modification, a weather delay, equipment breaking down, or a safety concern.
Mm-hmm.
Explain how you assessed the situation, talked to your team, and adjusted your approach to overcome the challenge. It's not just about reacting, it's about being proactive and finding solutions.
Stay calm. Assess the situation and find a safe and effective solution.
That's it.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask about that?
They might ask about your decision-making in stressful situations,
Okay.
how you handle pressure,
Mm-hmm.
or how quickly you can learn new things.
Okay.
They might also ask about how you communicate those changes to your team.
Right. Everyone needs to be on the same page.
Exactly.
So be ready to talk about how you thrive in a changing environment.
Adaptability is key in this field.
Okay. Let's get into a question that focuses on your commitment to professional development. How do you stay up to date with the latest advancements in pile driving technology and safety practices?
Staying current is so important.
Yeah, it seems like things are always evolving in this industry.
They absolutely are. Technology is changing everything in construction,
Okay.
and safety regulations are constantly being updated.
So how do you show them you're on top of it all?
Talk about going to conferences and workshops,
Okay.
reading trade publications,
Hmm.
participating in online forums, taking training courses.
So basically, always be learning.
Exactly. Show them you're curious and engaged.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask about that?
They might ask about specific training courses you've done,
Okay.
publications you read,
Mm-hmm.
or new technologies you're interested in.
They want to see that passion for learning.
It shows them you're invested in your career.
Okay, let's move on to a question that really gets into your decision-making skills. Describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision on a pile driving project. How did you approach the situation?
Ah, yeah, those tough calls are part of the job.
Every project has its challenges, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And sometimes you have to make those judgment calls under pressure.
It comes with the territory.
What kind of scenarios should you be ready to talk about?
Think about times you had to weigh different factors, assess risks, and make a choice. Maybe you had to delay something because of safety concerns, or choose between different pile driving methods because of the soil conditions.
Okay.
The key is to pick an example that shows you can make good decisions when things get tough.
Got it. So it's not just about knowing the right answer.
Right.
It's about being able to analyze the situation, think it through, and make a decision.
Exactly. You got to be decisive.
So what should you focus on when you're answering this?
Explain your decision-making process clearly and logically.
Okay.
Highlight how you gathered information, considered different options, talked to the engineers or supervisors, and ultimately made a decision that was safe, efficient, and aligned with the project goals.
So communication and collaboration are key even when it's a tough call.
You're not making decisions in a vacuum.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask about that?
They might ask about the consequences of your decision,
Okay.
what you learned from it,
Mhm.
or how you would handle it differently next time.
Okay.
They could also ask about how you communicated your decision to your team,
Right.
making sure everyone understands why you made that choice.
So it's all about being transparent, accountable, and showing them you can handle those pressure-filled moments.
Yeah, you got to be able to think on your feet.
Okay, let's tackle this question. Why are you interested in this specific pile driving hammer operator position? It seems like they're trying to figure out how much you really want this job
Oh, yeah, they want to see that genuine interest.
and how much research you've done.
Definitely, they want to know you've gone beyond just applying for any open position.
So how do you make your answer stand out?
Tailor it to that specific company and position.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any of their projects that impress you?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a reputation for using cool technology or prioritizing safety?
Okay.
Do their values match yours? Mention those things to show them you've done your homework.
So it's like a mini sales pitch, but for yourself.
Exactly. You're selling your skills and enthusiasm.
What kind of follow-up questions might they ask about that?
They might ask about your long-term career goals,
Okay.
how this position fits into your plans,
Yeah.
or what you hope to bring to their team.
Okay.
They could also ask about your knowledge of their company or specific projects.
So be ready to go deeper than just surface-level answers.
Yeah, show them you've put in the effort to understand their business.
All right, so research is key.
It is.
It's not just about knowing pile driving.
Right.
It's also about understanding the company and what they need.
Exactly. You want to be a good fit.
Okay, let's move on to this one. Have you ever had to take on a leadership role on a construction project? I thought this was for a pile-driving hammer operator, not a manager.
You're right, it's not a management position.
Okay.
But leadership skills are valuable anywhere.
Right.
Even if you haven't had an official leadership title, you've probably had chances to step up.
Okay.
Take initiative or guide others on a project. They're looking for someone who shows leadership potential regardless of their title.
So it's about those times you took charge.
Yeah.
Even in small ways.
Exactly.
What kind of situations should I be thinking about?
Think about times you mentored someone less experienced,
Okay.
took charge during an emergency,
Mm-hmm.
or came up with a solution that helped the whole team.
Okay.
Maybe you spotted a safety hazard and did something about it,
Right.
or found a more efficient way to do a task.
So those moments where you went above and beyond without being asked.
Exactly. Those are the gold nuggets.
So what should I focus on when I'm describing those experiences?
Highlight your communication skills, your problem-solving abilities, and how you motivate others.
Okay.
Explain how you took initiative, delegated tasks, if needed, communicated effectively, and made sure your team was safe.
So it's about showing those core leadership qualities even in a non-management role.
Exactly. Leadership can show up anywhere.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask about leadership?
They might ask about your leadership style,
Okay.
how you handle conflict,
Mm-hmm.
or how you motivate different types of people.
Okay.
They could also ask about a time you faced a leadership challenge and how you overcame it.
So be ready to talk about those times you stepped up and showed your leadership potential.
It's a valuable skill to have.
Okay, let's talk about safety again, but from a different angle.
Yep.
What are some of the most common safety hazards on a pile driving site, and how do you mitigate those risks? I mean, construction sites, especially with all that heavy equipment, can be pretty dangerous, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Pile driving sites can be hazardous.
Okay.
They want to know that you're aware of the risks and that you're proactive about staying safe.
What are some of the biggest hazards that come to mind?
Well, you're working with huge machines,
Right.
often up high,
Okay.
and dealing with materials that can be unstable.
Mm-hmm.
So some common risks are falling objects, trench collapses, electrical hazards, equipment malfunctions, and even noise and vibration exposure.
Wow, there's a lot to be aware of.
Safety is a constant focus.
So what should you highlight when you're talking about mitigating those risks?
Talk about the specific safety procedures you follow.
Okay.
Things like pre-operation inspections, wearing the right PPE, using safety harnesses when you're up high, proper rigging techniques, keeping the work area clean and organized,
Okay.
and most importantly, communicating clearly with your team.
So it's about being careful following the rules and creating a culture of safety.
Everyone's responsible for safety.
What about follow-up questions on those hazards?
They might ask about specific safety training you've had,
Okay.
your experience implementing safety protocols,
Mm-hmm.
or your knowledge of what to do in an emergency.
Got to be ready to talk about safety in a thorough way.
Yeah, show them you're serious about it.
It's not just about knowing the rules.
Right.
It's about showing them that you're committed to keeping everyone safe.
That's what they want to see.
Okay, let's talk about this question. Describe a situation where you had to communicate effectively with someone who didn't speak your language on a construction site,
Oh, yeah, that's a real challenge.
especially when safety's involved.
Absolutely. Clear communication is critical.
So how do you handle that kind of situation?
Well, you got to be resourceful.
Yeah.
Think about using visual aids like diagrams or hand signals.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe find a translator.
Yeah.
Learn some basic phrases in their language.
Right.
Or even use technology like those translation apps on your phone.
So it's about going that extra mile to make sure everyone understands.
Exactly, especially when it comes to safety.
What about follow-up questions on that?
They might ask about specific challenges you've faced,
Okay.
the importance of nonverbal communication, or your experience using different tools to communicate.
Okay.
They could also ask about a time when miscommunication caused a problem and how you fixed it.
So be ready to talk about the strategies you use,
Right.
but also the importance of being patient and understanding.
Yeah. Empathy goes a long way in those situations.
It's about more than just words. It's about building trust.
Exactly. Communication is about connection.
All right, let's move on to this question. Describe a time when you noticed a small but potentially significant detail on a construction project that others had overlooked. What did you do?
Ah, the power of observation.
It seems like they want someone who's really detail-oriented.
They're looking for someone who's observant and proactive.
Okay, so what kind of details should you be looking out for?
Think about those times when you spotted something off. Like a mistake on the blueprints, a potential safety hazard,
Mm-hmm.
a piece of equipment that was damaged, or a flaw in the process. Could be something small, like a missing bolt or a crack in a weld.
Okay.
Things that others might miss but could cause big problems.
So you got to have that eagle eye.
Attention to detail is crucial in construction.
So what should you focus on when you're describing what you did?
Highlight that you're proactive.
Okay.
Explain how you told the right people about the issue. Documented what you saw.
Okay.
And help find a solution.
So you're not just watching, you're actively involved in fixing things.
Exactly. You're part of the solution.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask about that?
They might ask about how you review blueprints,
Okay.
your experience with safety inspections,
Mhm.
or your ability to spot problems before they get big.
Got it.
They could also ask about a time when your attention to detail prevented a major mistake or accident.
So be ready to share those stories where your keen eye made a difference.
It shows them you care about quality and safety.
All right, let's get into this question. Describe your experience operating different types of pile-driving hammers and their specific applications.
The world of hammers.
I bet there are more than I realize.
Oh yeah, there are tons of different types, each designed for specific jobs and soil conditions.
Wow.
They might ask about hydraulic hammers, diesel hammers, vibratory hammers, drop hammers.
Okay.
Each one has its pros and cons.
So what should you focus on when answering this one?
Highlight your experience operating the different types
Okay.
and your knowledge of when to use which one.
Got it.
Explain the differences in how they work their power noise levels and which soil conditions and pile types they're best for.
Okay, so there's a hammer for every occasion.
Pretty much, you got to choose the right tool for the job.
What kind of follow-up questions might they ask about that?
They might ask about troubleshooting hammer problems,
Okay.
your knowledge of safety procedures for each type,
Mm-hmm.
or your ability to pick the best hammer for a project.
Got it.
They might even ask about your experience with newer technologies like GPS-guided systems or automated controls.
So we ready to talk about all the technical stuff?
Yeah, show them you're an expert.
Okay, let's move on to a question that's becoming more and more important these days. What are some of the environmental considerations you need to be aware of when working on a pile driving project, and how do you minimize your impact?
Environmental awareness is key.
Yeah, it seems like every industry is focusing on sustainability now.
Absolutely. Construction has a big impact on the environment,
Okay.
and pile driving is no exception.
So what are some of the environmental concerns you think about when you're doing this work?
Well, pile driving can be noisy and cause vibrations,
Okay.
which can disturb people and wildlife nearby.
Mm-hmm.
It can also create dust and air pollution,
Okay.
and there's always the risk of soil erosion and water contamination.
Right. We got to protect those resources.
Exactly. And we also have to be mindful of wildlife habitats.
It's about respecting the ecosystem.
Right.
So it's not just about getting the job done, it's about minimizing harm to the environment.
Sustainability is important.
So what are some specific ways to reduce those impacts?
You can talk about using noise and vibration barriers,
Okay.
adjusting your work schedule to minimize disturbance,
Uh-huh.
using dust suppression techniques like spraying water,
Okay.
properly disposing of waste materials,
Right.
implementing erosion control measures, and using spill containment systems.
So a lot of planning and precaution.
Yeah, and always be aware of wildlife habitats. Try to avoid disturbing those areas.
It's about working in harmony with nature.
Exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask about that?
They might ask about specific environmental regulations,
Okay.
like the Clean Water Act or the Endangered Species Act.
Mhm.
They might ask about your experience with environmental controls on past projects
Okay.
or your knowledge of sustainable construction practices.
Got it.
They could also ask about a time when you went above and beyond to protect the environment.
So be ready to show them you're committed to environmental stewardship.
It's becoming more and more important.
All right, let's get into a question about your people skills. Describe a time when you had a disagreement with a coworker on a construction site. How did you handle the situation?
Conflict happens.
Yeah, construction sites can be stressful,
Definitely, there's a lot going on.
and people are bound to bump heads sometimes.
It's inevitable.
So how do you handle those situations in a professional way?
Well, first of all, you got to listen to the other person's side of the story.
Okay.
Communicate your own viewpoint calmly and respectfully, and work together to find a solution that works for everyone.
Right.
Focus on compromise and finding common ground,
Right.
and always keep that shared goal in mind, completing the project safely and successfully.
So it's about being a team player even when you disagree.
Exactly. You're all in this together.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask about that?
They might ask about dealing with difficult personalities,
Yeah.
your ability to compromise,
Mm-hmm.
or your experience mediating conflicts.
Okay.
They could also ask about a time when a disagreement escalated into a bigger problem.
Right. Sometimes things can get heated.
Yeah, so be ready to share examples of how you handle those interpersonal challenges.
Got it. So it's all about showing them you can navigate those tricky situations.
Communication is key.
Okay, let's move on to a question about going the extra mile.
Yeah.
Describe a time when you went above and beyond your regular duties on a construction project. What motivated you to do so?
They want to see that you're a hard worker.
Yeah, they're looking for someone who takes initiative.
Exactly. Someone who's invested in the project
Okay,
and willing to do what it takes to make it successful.
so what are some examples of going above and beyond in this role?
Think about times when you volunteered for a tough task,
Okay,
came up with a creative solution, helped a coworker who was struggling, or took extra steps to make sure everything was safe and high quality.
okay.
Maybe you stayed late or came in early.
Right.
Those are the things that show them you're dedicated.
So it's about going beyond your job description and making a real difference.
Exactly. You're not just punching the clock.
So what should you focus on when you're explaining your motivation?
Highlight your dedication to the team, your passion for the work, or your desire to learn and improve.
Okay.
Explain how your actions benefited the project. Did you save time, improve safety, increase efficiency?
Got it.
Connect your actions to a positive outcome.
So it's about working hard, but also working smart.
Exactly. You want to make a real contribution.
What about follow-up questions on that?
They might ask about your decision-making when taking on extra responsibilities,
Okay.
how you balance your regular work with those extra tasks,
Right.
or your experience leading or mentoring others.
Okay.
They might also ask about a time when you took initiative and it didn't work out.
Right.
Be ready to talk about what you learned from those experiences.
So be prepared to showcase those moments when you went above and beyond.
It shows them you're committed to excellence.
This has been super helpful. We've covered so much.
Yeah, we've gone through a lot.
I feel way more confident about tackling those interview questions now.
That's great to hear.
But before we wrap up this episode,
Okay.
let's take a quick break
Sounds good.
and hear from our sponsor. We'll be back with some final tips and insights, so stay tuned.
Welcome back. All right, so we've talked about a lot of these interview questions.
Yeah, we've covered a ton.
But before we wrap up this whole deep dive into acing your pile driving hammer operator interview,
Okay.
let's circle back to one of the most helpful tools you've got, RoleCatcher's AI.
You know, I'm still kind of blown away by what this technology can do.
It's pretty amazing.
It's like having a personal career coach and an interview expert all in one.
It really is. It can make a huge difference in your job search.
Okay, so remind me how it works with like tailoring your application.
Right. So it doesn't just analyze those job descriptions.
Mhm.
It actually helps you tweak your whole application to match what they're looking for.
Okay, so does it like write my resume for me?
Well, not exactly, but it gets you pretty close.
Okay, how so?
It picks out those keywords that really grab an employer's attention,
Right.
and then it suggests ways to work those into your resume and your cover letter.
Okay.
So it's all about making sure your application is speaking their language.
So it's like having an expert editor who's
Yeah.
making your application stand out.
Exactly. It helps you rise to the top of the pile.
I like that top of the pile.
And the AI doesn't stop there. Remember, it can also help you get ready for those interview questions.
Oh yeah, the practice tool.
Right.
I've heard good things about that. So you can actually practice your answers and get feedback from the AI.
It's like having a mock interview with a virtual coach.
That's so cool.
Yeah, you can practice answering common questions,
Mhm.
and the AI will analyze your responses and give you feedback on the content, how clear you are, even your delivery.
That's amazing. I bet that makes you feel a lot more confident.
Definitely take some of the pressure off.
And I heard there's a video rehearsal feature too.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So the AI can even look at your body language,
That's right.
give you tips on how to come across as confident and professional.
It's like having a personal stylist for your interview.
This is amazing. That's crazy how technology can really help you in your job search.
It's all about giving you the tools and information you need to shine.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I have one last question for you.
Okay, shoot.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone who's about to go into a pile-driving hammer operator interview, what would it be?
Be yourself, be enthusiastic, and be prepared.
I like that.
Let them see your passion for the work.
Right.
Show them what you can do and how much you care about safety.
Okay.
But most importantly, just be yourself. Authenticity goes a long way.
That's great advice. It's not just about memorizing answers.
Right.
It's about showing them who you are and why you love this work.
Exactly. An interview is a two-way street.
Okay, well, I think we've covered pretty much everything you need to know to rock that pile-driving hammer operator interview.
I think so too.
Thanks for all the great insights.
My pleasure.
Remember, you got this. Go out there and make a great impression.
You're going to do great.
And don't forget to check out RoleCatcher's AI tools to really boost your job search. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and best of luck with your interview